for allowing me. Am I, oh, my microphone is muted.
We can hear you and we can see
Oh,
you
you
now
can
as
hear
well.
me. Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Um, I want to thank the task force for holding these hearing sessions, collecting the testimony. What I can say, it's numbing. It's numbing for me to sit here and listen to it all and having lived through it. So I am Susan Burton, founder of A New Way of Life Reentry Project. And the next slide is a photograph of my son. His name is KK. We called him KK. His name was Marquet. And he was hit and killed by a police car when he was 5 years old. Overwhelmed with grief, I began to drink and use drugs just to cope. You know, the police car killed him. The police never got out of the car. And the police station never ever sent me a Miss Burton, I'm sorry, no type of acknowledgement. So I was filled with rage. Over the next 15 years, I was arrested over 6 times for the use of a controlled substance and was stayed under the auspice of or the authority of the criminal justice system for over 20 years. And what I want to say is I was a grieving mother and I needed help. I did not need punishment. Next slide. Um, in 1996, I learned that the justice system responded differently to Black people, Black women. I found a treatment center in Santa Monica, California, after them 6 prison sentences, and there I got sober. Uh, uh, my sobriety date is October 4th, 1997. And I saw people, get court cards and get community service and get deferred to treatment and what have you. But that did not happen in South LA. Next slide. So after being in treatment for 100 days, I was able to pick up my bed and walk. I started a New Way of Life reentry project 1 year after leaving treatment. And my vision was to build a home in South LA that could help women like me transition out of prisons and jails and have the space to heal and build power and opportunity. I first started going down to the downtown bus station in Skid Row, where all of us get off the bus with what they call gate money, $200, the same $200 they've been giving to people since the 50s. And we would try to make a life from there. But I would go there and I would tell my friends that I had a place for them to live, and that started a new way of life. Today, we have not only 10, we actually have 11 safe houses across LA County, and we've helped over 1,400 women come back into the community after incarceration. Next slide. Um, I realized that we needed to build support for people as they were leaving incarceration. That all the money, our state money, our federal money, all our county resources was put on incarceration and punishing people. So, with the help of a friend, Dorsey Nunn, we started organizing, we started leadership development. With the help of Professor Saul Sarabia, we created a legal clinic and has established a family reunification department within A New Way of Life. Next slide. We now have the 11 safe houses across LA County, and we're able to house about 70, 73 women at a time. Last year, we provided about 94 reentry services for women. And what we do is we have a holistic approach. First of all, we provide safe housing, leadership development, legal services, employment services, family reunification services, just a whole host of services. Just real reintegration support back into the community. Next slide. And I just talked about the services, the pro bono legal services, the organizing, and we have actually 6 attorneys, 3 in post-conviction relief, and 3 that serve family reunification. That's another big area. The way in which while men are incarcerated, they actually lose their parental rights, and they never ever know it until they get home and they're trying to reunite with their children. Next slide. And then there's the reunification supports. In 2021, we assisted 127 parents, and with we're working to now bring those reunification clinics inside of the prison, inside of the jail, where people are able to keep their family rights intact while they're incarcerated. I think we've reunited about 400 women with their children total, the time span that we've been at A New Way of Life. Next slide. So we do advocacy and leadership development, policy development, voter registration, organizing, and then the leadership development. In 2021, we held a Peace and Justice Summit that we organized to shine a light on the disruption of family rights and to promote the restoration of families. And we also held a rally in Sacramento to bring this to the attention of our legislators. Next slide. We also tell stories. We have a Testify that allows people to tell their stories. I believe that our stories are really, really important for people to hear. I've heard so much today that, I mean, it's just numbing and chilling. And I think, how does this keep going on? But it continues to happen, and we're going to have to call. I hope this reparations task force will be able to call some of it on the rug. We'll be able to end some of it or all of it. Next slide. On the earlier slide, you saw the book that I published called Becoming Miss Burden: From Prison to Recovery to Leading the Fight for Incarcerated Women. When I published the book so that I could tell the story of women, not just my story, but how we incarcerate so many women, and women being the fastest growing segment of the criminal justice system. And that book took me all around the nation, where I had the opportunity to go in prisons everywhere. And what I heard overwhelmingly is, Miss Burden, will you bring a house to my state, to my city, to my county? When we leave prison, we have nothing. No one looks out for us. No one tries to help us. And we end up getting back involved in the same stuff. We need a house like that here. So what I did was I developed the Safe Housing Network. It's a network of women, formerly incarcerated women all over the country, that are providing a replicate model of a new way of life. So thus far, we have 16 network members operating in 12 states. Last week, I just added 5 more members to the Safe Housing Network. We're also in a couple of countries, Kenya, Uganda, and of course in the USA. The members receive training, technical support, and I actually fund them to start opening up the first house. We've been really fortunate here at A New Way of Life that we've created a model and a brand that people are willing to support. And so I'm willing also to support other people to become leaders. None of us can do this alone, and it needs to happen everywhere. Um, Next slide. Is there a next slide? These are ways that you can learn more about a new way of life or either get involved. I think that we are a really robust and cutting edge model. And I say cutting edge because our services are for the community and they're supported by the community. I've had the opportunity in my 20 years to understand different types of resources, from county resources, city resources, state resources, federal resources. And what I've learned is that those government resources perpetrate the same harms on community members as the justice system does on its folks. So I've elected not to engage in state funding, federal funding, city and county funding. I have a little bit of it, but it's really problematic. But I don't have so much of it that I feel like a slave again. I know what it feels like to work for 8 cents an hour when what I needed was a place to heal. It's almost like the lashes on your back. And if you don't go to work for 8 cents an hour, another day is added on to your sentence. So it is a system of slavery, and there could be so much more we need to be doing. Again, I'm thankful to be here testifying. I think our model is a model that works, that, I say all the time, is freedom work. It allows people to become the best that they can be and be supported and valued, not moved as a body from one place to another, but supported to know their strengths, supported to know that they have something to contribute, and supported to find that contribution and give it to the world, give it to the nation, give it to the children, give it to the community. So that's my presentation. I hope that it adds some hope to what's possible, because it's been hard. It's been numbing listening to what has happened to us over 400 years. All right, thank you. Oh, and one other area that I'd like to add to before I take off, before I finish here. One of the things that I've recognized for folks that are incarcerated, Black folks that are incarcerated, in addition to being, tortured and incarcerated and punished, the opportunities that do exist, the few and far in between opportunities that do exist behind the walls, Black folks are not allowed to engage in them. For instance, I have an employment. So, for instance, when I was in prison, I never ever got to do drug treatment or go to the training class, or they wanted me to cut the line. And I had to cut the line for 8 cents an hour or spend another day in jail. But right now, I'm delivering an employment readiness program inside one of the local jails. And as a Black woman in the lead of an organization, I want to see Black women participating in that employment program. But the selection for the employment program is done by the deputies, and Black women are 8% of the people that have the opportunity to participate in that employment readiness program. And the employment readiness program gives you access to housing, clothing when you're released, $2,700, just a whole host of stuff that they get. But there's a problem with what Black people have access to even while they're incarcerated. So I'm going to end there, and I hope what
Thank
I add something to the panel. Thank you.